Welcome back to LePodcast episode 61. As always, you're here with Hoop, Saini, and your grateful Warrior fan, ZZ Huncho right now. Because, ladies and gentlemen, today is a special episode. We got a special guy in the house, the one, the only, the NBA Facts, aka Mr. Statmuse. How you feeling today, brother?
Not great after last night's loss, but I'm ready to talk some Mavs.
Nice. I wouldn't be feeling great either if my team showcased middle school level IQ. But nonetheless, that's what we're here to talk about right now. It's going to be our first segment. I need to know. Mark Cuban's out here talking about protesting and trying to get the referees to get fined and all these things because he called it the worst officiated call, I think, in NBA history, or the worst non-officiated call in NBA history, rather. So I need to know from you, because you are the okay. Well, I just need to know from you, how do you feel about this? Over-exaggeration, obviously, but we'll get into that. I just need to know from you, how you feeling, Mr. NBA Facts, about that great showcase from the Mavericks.
And please give some context. Explain what happened in your eyes.
In your words.
Yes.
Yeah, so what happened coming out of a timeout, I believe. It was the mid third quarter, near the end. They gave the Warriors the ball below their own hoop, and the Mavs were under the impression that it was their ball, so we were all lined up on the other side of the court. I don't know, they were confused, and the ref gave the Warriors the ball, tossed it in, easy little lay for 2 buckets, or for 2 points, and the Mavs were on the other side of the court. So, yeah, Mark Cuban rebutted that with the league, and I think he's in the right to do it, because apparently the refs told the Mavs it was our ball, so that's on them for sure. If you got 5 NBA players out there and a head coach, Jason Kidd, Hall of Fame point guard, it's obviously not an IQ problem. I coached a middle school C team, and that never happened to us. So I know it's not the players' fault. Obviously, the league wants the Warriors to be out of the play-in tournament, so they're handing them that game.
I will say this. I don't know what you guys think you're going to accomplish with a protest. You might get a little bit of a fine, but what's a fine to $1 billion franchise, right? They're not going to, like, I get it. Like, he wants to, like, show attention to it, to the media. He wants to, like, stretch it out as much as they can just so people are like, oh, they feel bad for the Mavs. But I don't think anything is going to get accomplished with that protest. I think you just sweep it under the rug. Like, it happened. What can you do? It was, like, I saw Luka do this at the end of the game. I agree. Like, that's a paid, like, and the Warriors somehow always find a way to sneak their way into success. So I'm thinking some money is involved if I'm keeping it a buck. But I don't think a protest is going to do anything.
Yeah, and we lost by 1 bucket too. So that's
no, but here's the thing: a three was scored. Like, it was like down 5. Nobody cared about the game anymore.
At the buzzer, that would have been the game-tying 3. That would have been the game-tying 3 by Reggie Bullock.
You know what? I see both sides of the point,
Luka
actually.
And OT dominates.
Because they would have drawn something up.
Oh,
they
really?
would have drawn something up that actually, like, yeah, so you know what? Fair enough. You guys lost by 1 bucket. People are like, oh, there was a bucket at the end of the game. But they would have drawn something up and not have been in that situation. He is right. No. Like, they wouldn't have been in that situation. So,
it was also takes that back. That's a tie game.
It was a free bucket in the third quarter, but also think about the momentum, the shift in the game where it's like, what the heck is going on, right? Like, they just got a free bucket. It feels like the refs are against us.
That's the difference between the 6 seed and the 9 seed for us right now. Like, that's huge. So, yeah, I think it's right by Mark Cuban to stand up.
That's the difference between being below Oklahoma and above Oklahoma.
You want to know what I see, Mr. NBA Facts? Or at least what I saw last night? Mavericks fans across the world are pleading and begging and crying and bitching and all of that. Doing the same thing that Luka Doncic was doing last night and has done for every single night pretty much this season against the referees. Can you explain to me how your favorite player, the one, the only Slovenian soldier, Luka Doncic, why on earth?
Z, you're so hypocritical.
Why on earth?
I've heard you so many times
Go ahead.
complain how the Warriors get no free throws.
Because the Warriors are
because
ranked
they
last.
don't go to the
They're
paint.
ranked like
They
no.
don't go to the paint.
No. We're not.
They
We're not.
show
First
free.
of
You
all,
don't
first
get
of all,
fouls.
first of all,
We're already
first of
screaming.
all, we're not
We're
screaming.
already
They
screaming.
We're not
don't go to the
screaming yet.
paint.
We're not screaming yet. Hoop, you haven't
not
watched enough
screaming yet.
Warrior
Let's-
games. Don't even
let's
give me
make
that
it-
because I will literally tell
They're
you.
on national
Frank,
TV
don't listen
all
to
the
me.
time.
Listen
Hey,
to
fellas,
me.
let's
We're
make
not
this
gonna
a good
scream.
listen for the
We're
listeners.
not
all
going to
right?
scream. Everybody calm down. Everybody get a drink of water and settle in and let ZZ Huncho
I'm
spit.
fasting. I can't drink water.
Okay, well, except Sandy. Happy Ramadan. Anyway, the
Bro's
point
on
is,
his Hakeem Olajuwon, but never.
bro was on his Kareem, his Hakeem and Kyrie quest right now. I feel
Kyrie.
you. But here's the thing, right? The Warriors are ranked one of the lowest teams in the league in terms of free throw attempts. And Hoop, for you to sit here and say that I am hypocritical because the Warriors don't drive in, you obviously have not watched a lick of Warrior games this year. When the Warriors have been down, I've seen the Warriors down 15 points. It might have been that Atlanta Hawks game that Klay Thompson went stupid in. But there have been stretches this season where I've seen the Warriors down. And I've heard the announcers, the commentators, the Warriors specifically, talking about how the Warriors will be in situations where they go out there and they do shoot a lot of threes. They actually are at the top of the league in three-point percentage. So I get all of that, right? But when you look at the Warriors on the nights that they're not shooting well, what do they do in order to make up for it? Do you think that they continue to shoot threes until they, to their wrist breaks like the Houston Rockets in the Game 7 2018 Western Conference Finals? Or do you think that they drive in and try to get contact, which is the smart thing to do from a team that has won 4 championships in the last 10 years? But whatever.
What is that have to do with anything?
Poop,
What?
listen to me right now. Listen to me right now. You obviously have not watched the lick of the Warriors games this year, especially the ones that they've been down and had you come back
oh my
in
God.
and had
I
you
have
come
to
back
look
in.
up these stats
Because
about
I'll be
teams
honest,
shooting the
last
paint.
night, Sandy know what I'm talking about. Last night, Luka Doncic, your main man, goes out there and shoots, 11 for 27? Him and Christian Wood both combined for more free throws than the entire Warrior team. You gonna sit here and tell me that we're just gonna look past that? Because the Warriors.
That's because they get to the paint. Hoop's got a point. That's because they get to the paint. That's what Luka does, and he doesn't get the favorable whistle that Harden, Trey, and
Z,
LeBron.
So let me get this straight.
You want to know where the Warriors rank in points in the paint per game?
Go ahead, tell me.
28th.
Right. You know where they could have get some points from in the paint? For the free throw line.
No, that doesn't count.
They
don't count free-
The point that
They
I'm
don't
trying to
count free throws as points in
That
the paint.
counts.
What are we
Honestly,
talking about?
Who? Listen. All I'm saying is,
what?
Did he
when
say
you look
point
at
in
the
the
Golden
paint?
State
He's
Warriors,
talking in circles.
when you
He's
look
talking
at
in circles.
So let me ask you this question: How last night are we talking about free throw shooting and 3-point shooting when the Dallas Mavericks not only had more free throw
No,
attempts than
because
the
you
Warriors?
said
no.
that Dallas Mavericks fans complain, and I
Dallas-
was saying how you complain all the time.
Yes, I complain for a reason. Warriors fans have been complaining. I'll read you the comment
my
section right now. I'll go read you the comment section right now.
Hey, they might complain, but we complain for a reason.
Oh my
we
God.
complain for a reason.
Who is we?
Says
who is
everyone.
we? The
Says
Knicks?
everyone.
Who on your team gets to the rim? Like
Steph Curry, and
With-
Andrew Wiggins.
like
when he's
last
there.
night, you got
Klay
Steph
Thompson.
Curry.
Klay Thompson
Andrew
gets to
Wiggins
the
didn't
rim.
play last night.
If you've watched Klay Thompson play this season, Klay Thompson has done more and more of pump faking and driving
And he
in
also
and pump
shoots 10
faking and letting
threes a
guys
game.
get there. So
Hey, all you got to that fadeaway midi.
you obviously
yeah,
haven't watched Klay Thompson this
You don't
season.
get fouled on the mid-range jumper.
Klay Thompson, that's the thing. Klay Thompson will drive in, pump fake, go to the rim, literally make it to the rim, pump fake, and then try and get to the free throw line. And if they do
I'll
call
be
it,
honest.
it's great.
Game.
If they do call
I'll
it, it's
be
great.
honest.
But if they
I'll be
don't,
honest.
the game.
The Warriors, listen, and don't cut me off until I finish because it's gonna be a shocking surprise. The Warriors ranked 28th in the league in points in the paint, but Dallas ranks 30th. So what's the argument here with both of you? Both of them don't play in the
Dwight
paint.
Powell's our center.
Both of them.
Kevon
Both of them
Looney's
don't play
our
in the
center.
paint.
What do you want? Kevon
Yeah,
Looney's
like
our
Dwight
Dwight
center.
Powell's
Powell,
6'5" wingspan.
I think.
I think Draymond has a larger wingspan than Dwight
This is a
Powell.
weird
He
argument.
does.
Like
He does.
Like Golden State averages 44.7 points in the paint a game, and Dallas averages 42.5 points in the
Now,
paint.
I
per game.
brought up the point as a non-Mavericks fan just to say that Z does complain as well. If Caleb jumped on that point, that's his fault. But they clearly none of them get
Like,
to the,
both
none
of
them get
these-
in the paint.
None of them get to the paint. So
Hey.
you guys are both just arguing about some trigger
Well,
happy
that was
teams.
more of an irrelevant point. But
Well, no.
go ahead. I'm
the
sorry
sense
to
of-
invade the argument.
It's
I just
fine.
wanted to call
It's
out
fine.
Z for his hypocrisy.
It's all good. I can't wait to
No,
call
see,
you.
you do complain about the Warriors, bro.
I do.
You
I
do.
do.
You,
I do.
You
I know.
complain about you complain a lot about a team that gets a free bucket and wins the game by
Oh my
2
God.
on
Okay,
that
so
free bucket.
let me
That's all I'm
get back to
saying.
that point.
You
Let me get back to that point. The free bucket point. This is the point that is pissing me off the most. So, Caleb, have you ever played? You said you coached the middle school team, right? So you mean to tell? Did you go back and watch that replay of what actually happened when they zoomed in on the referee and his call? Because clearly he called Warrior ball. Then the Mavs had a timeout, and he told Kevon Looney, who walked up to him after he made the point to the Mavericks bench, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he said, "It's a Maverick timeout." And then Kevon walked away. Even after the ball went out of bounds, there was no Maverick player that was sitting here pointing to the direction of the Mavericks for the Mavericks to have the possession. So I'm asking you, for all of this, oh my God, they got a free bucket. Let's talk about what happened after that. Let's talk about what happened in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Why the hell does the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas, because the Mavericks did chip back in, ended up tying the game, making it a 1-point game, and then possession after possession after possession, all the Mavericks needed to do was make 2 stops, maybe 2 stops straight, and score. They didn't do either of those options. As a matter of fact, Steph Curry got a wide open, butt-ass naked, open layup. Like, I mean, you got to be kidding me right now. If you're expecting me to feel sympathy for not, and this is the thing that the Warriors did do, but I'll let you talk. But this is what the Warriors do. They realize when you have a center like a Dwight Powell, right, whose defensive or perimeter defensive skills aren't necessarily among the best, but I mean,
He jumps high.
yeah, like great for him. But that's cool. But I mean, they
He's Canadian.
yeah, his name's Dwight. Cool. But nonetheless, the Warriors looked at that and they said, I need to get a switch. I need Steph Curry to get a switch on to Dwight, or not Dwight Powell. I think it was Cleaver he was switched on to at the late possession. Correct me if I'm wrong. But either or, right? They're not going to be great perimeter defenders. Steph, they were switching out of that because Reggie Bullock was doing a great job of just, irritating Steph Curry all night. He had 18 field goal attempts and shot 50% and had 13 assists. But nonetheless, in that possession alone, they needed to get Reggie off, right? So what do? They switch on, right? Steph gets a open lane. And then Luka goes down the court, gets clamped up, I believe, by Klay Thompson for a possession to the point where he had to pass out to Christian Wood, who also looked like a deer in headlights. Gives it back to Luka, and then Luka tried to do some Luka magic and, bricks off the top of the backboard, but whatever. And then Luka goes up for the rebound with Draymond Green, right? I watched the replay. Draymond did not touch Luka Doncic. But Luka Doncic in midair, after he realizes he can't get the rebound, what does he do? Luka floppage. That's what we get, right?
Nah, that was bad. I saw that.
Like,
that was
you
nasty.
can't expect me, as a Warrior fan, for all of the stuff that I've been giving the referees all year long, to even have a little bit of sympathy for Luka Doncic. For literally, if Luka doesn't get the play, if the play doesn't go Luka's way, Luka will literally flop. That is what he results to. If I can get the rebound, if the shot didn't go in, I'm just gonna flop because I'm Luka Doncic and I deserve all these free throw attempts. Is that what it is? Talk to me, NBA facts. I had to get that off my chest.
All right, there's not a lot there I can argue with you on because you identified like our 4 biggest issues. The first being our defense, which is just absolute garbage, and it's what we have to address this offseason. When the playoffs roll around, we have to beat people by scoring 135 points a game, like as everybody's saying in the national media. And so that's why Steph got that open lane. Like Maxi Kleber is our best defender probably on the squad right now, and that's huge red flag for a playoff team. And then Luka complaining, especially at the end of games, that's when it becomes an issue.
Maxi Kleber has
he tries to play hero ball.
Maxi Kleber has like a defensive rating of 117. So if that's your best defender, that's I don't know.
Defensive rating. I don't love that stat.
It might be his defensive rating since Kyrie joined the team because I do have
saying he don't know ball.
What defensive rating is a great
using defensive rating on a good defender on an awful defensive team. Of course, his defensive rating is going to be booty cheeks.
I don't
Dwight
care.
Powell is the best offensive rating of all time.
My point is, he's clearly not helping.
That's crazy.
He's clearly not helping on that end.
And then what we saw at the end of that game with the Luka hero ball / the Mavs are only going to win if we hit threes because that's all our players have in their arsenal, other than Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. 3-point shooting. I've got a question for you guys, though. If you haven't watched the Mavs like a ton this season, other than like national televised games, was that your first exposure to like the Jaden Hardy experience?
No. I think it was when Kyrie was out, or when Kyrie got traded and they had to start Hardy. Like while he the first couple of games he didn't play. That was when I really figured out who Jaden Hardy was. And he's nice. I don't know how he's averaging like 14 minutes a game. That makes no sense to me. He should be getting way more minutes. That guy's a bucket.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a great backup guard, but
go ahead.
But with Luka and Kyrie, and then you also have to try and find Tim Hardaway some minutes too. I don't really see when he gets on the court.
Yeah,
which is fair enough, but at the same time, he deserves better. I think he should leave.
You say you think he should leave?
Yeah,
why
is
that
he
kind
on
of
the
power,
team?
bro?
He has the talent. No, I'm saying if I were him, if I'm a
He's a
free
rookie.
agent, I don't know what his contract
Hey,
is.
Mark, get me out of here.
If I'm no, seriously, I would. I'd be like, yo, bro, go put me on the Nets or something.
No.
Let me get some minutes.
For the longest time, for 2 years, or ever since Brunson left, really, but even before Brunson, it was who's the Mavs secondary ball handler? We had Dinwiddie, we had Brunson for a bit. Then we traded away Dinwiddie, looking for that again. We got Kyrie. But Jaden Hardy kind of can be that guy off the bench. He runs that second unit really well. And then he plays next to Luka, amazing. He hit that catch and shoot three was clicking last night. I think he hit 4 or 5 threes. So I think that's huge for the Mavs future, but the immediate future is not looking good with our defense going into the playoffs.
No, your defense is terrible. There is no future in that defense.
Worse in the
Mark
league,
Cuban
probably.
needs to invest. Mark Cuban's out here investing on random businesses on Shark Tank, and he's not investing in your guys' defense, which is, should be the first thing he makes an offer for.
Hold on, because I don't know what you were going to say, but I wanted to get into the long-term future of the Mavs.
That's what I'm about to bring up. That's what I'm about to bring up.
Go ahead.
Since we're talking about, Kyrie and Jaden Hardy and all that stuff, I wanted to touch base on Kyrie, obviously, because that's a big gamble. That's probably one of the biggest gambles I've seen this season, or at least this during the trade deadline, right? Obviously, I'm gonna name up some quick facts for you because I want you to, because obviously you watch all the games. I'm assuming you know more than me, but since Kyrie got traded to the Mavs, or every game he's played with the Mavericks, at least the Mavs record has been 6-7, but Kyrie has been playing amazing in those games. 28.4 points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, 6.1 assists, 1.1 steals, 2.2 turnovers, 51.2, 41, and 95.4 splits. He has a plus minus of plus 83. The guy is playing ridiculous. And then I'm also going to pull up Luka's stats since, that's the player that's going to get the most affected when you bring in another star, right? Since Kyrie, 30.9 points per game, 8 assists per game, 7.5 rebounds per game, 1.2 steals, 3.9 turnovers, 47.4, 31.6, and 75.9 shooting splits with a plus minus of negative 15. So clearly, I'm not saying that Kyrie's a better player, but the stats say that the Mavs are a better team when Kyrie's on the floor. And I want to ask you, because I'm not saying that's the case, but I want to ask you why are the stats saying that? Is that the truth? Is that what's going on? Or is this just a stat that we shouldn't look too deep into?
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie's been unconscious with us so far. You said it was 50, 40, 90, right? On 28 points per game, something like that, or close to 50, 40, 90.
Bro, above 50, 49, 51, 41, and 95. That's ridiculous. And a plus minus of plus 83. That's amazing.
And it's been it's been a little bit quiet. I don't think people are talking about it that much, how good he's been because we're losing.
I didn't know
but
until I looked into it.
It's a chemistry thing. Yeah.
I didn't know until I looked into it, I'll be honest.
With Luka and Kyrie, it's the extreme example, but we have to figure out, what LeBron and Kyrie had going in Cleveland. Because offensively, Luka is, LeBron light without the athleticism, obviously. But if they can get that same chemistry rolling, which is going to take some time, and obviously we have 8 games. Luka just came back. Hopefully Kyrie will be playing here coming soon. So if they can figure that out, I think even this year we can do some damage in the playoffs. The West is fairly weak. The problem is we're going to go into series where we have to play against a Nikola Jokic, an Anthony Davis, even a Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to give us, or Sabonis is going to give us huge issues. So with I don't think Luka's the issue. I think they just got to figure out the way to share the ball. I don't know if you guys watched their first 4 games together.
Right.
All of them went down to clutch buckets, and they were just kind of passing it back and forth.
This is exactly what I wanted to bring up.
You take the shot.
This is exactly what I wanted to bring up. I know I don't think anybody shed light on this yet because I've had to like manually go and count this myself to really get an in-depth. But I'm going to throw some Maverick stats at you right now since Kyrie's gotten there. They have the fourth worst defensive rating in the league behind Portland, Houston, and Sacramento since they got Kyrie Irving. They have a 7-11 record as a total. Kyrie hasn't played all those games. But here's where it gets interesting because 8 of their losses, they've only lost by 5 or less points. And only one of those games they lost by 5. Almost every single loss they've gotten was determined by 1 bucket, which was really odd for me to look at. Even the losses outside of that, they were within single digits. Like, it wasn't like, I think there was only one like real like 15, 20 point loss that they had.
You want to know?
Every single loss seems to be down to the wire. And again, like, what's the issue here? Because Luka and Kyrie, they're 2 of the best finished. Like, I would trust either of them to close out a game.
I'll tell you
right?
exactly what the issue is, Sandy. Before I let you go, the issue is that the offensive scheme that the Mavericks are forced to run with this Kyrie Irving trade is literally my turn, your turn, and it reminds me like eerily of the scary hour Brooklyn Nets big 3, right? Where you take a trade and it lands your team in a position where you have nothing but scoring as your option, right? You lack defense, but everybody already knew that. So your only option is we got to go shot for shot with this other team, and you're basically going to have to outscore me, and we're going to have to score more than we care about focusing in and keying in on stopping you. It's literally going to have to be a shootout for 48 minutes, right? So when you get into I don't know about y'all, but I remember looking back at the Brooklyn Nets during that time frame, and you would see all of these close-ass games, especially early on. Remember Cleveland Cavaliers and when Darius Garland and Colin Sexton was cooking them for 50? Like, you had games like that where you would match up, and your only option is if Kevin Durant and Kyrie give you 30, and then someone else, James Harden, chips in for the facilitation aspect of it. But with Luka and Kyrie, I knew Kyrie was going to just thrive here. I mean, Kyrie's game, like his style of play doesn't necessarily change right? He's still going to be the same ISO scorer, 3-level scorer. He's still going to be able to do all of the things that he's done in Brooklyn and in Boston and in Cleveland. But I was wondering if there was another area of his game, NBA Facts, that you thought he should like keen in a little bit more on. Maybe the facilitation end, maybe the defensive end, maybe to try and bring in some identity or some encouragement from other players, right? Because Reggie Bullock's going to lock down, do his thing. Like, he's a 3-and-D guy. That's his role, right? And Luka's not going to give it to you. So, I mean, good Lord. I mean, last year in the playoffs, you know what happened. But I'm just saying, what do you think should change with trying to like adapt to this new Kyrie Irving team to get rid of the defensive liability aspect of this team?
Like what Kyrie needs to change, or
Either
the team
or,
as a whole?
something that should change, something that could change. You know what I'm saying? To try and just overshadow this.
Yeah.
Especially come playoff time.
Well, the big thing looming over the Mavs, well, there's a lot, honestly, looming over the Mavs, but one of the big things is Christian Wood this season. Once again, I'm on Mavs Twitter, so I see all the details on Christian Wood, but like there's this weird chemistry going on with him and Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd throwing shade at him in post-game interviews. Then the next night, Christian Wood plays 10 minutes. And you see him in games. You'll see him calling for the ball from Jaden Hardy, Luka Doncic. He doesn't get it, and he walks up the court on defense. So I don't know specifically what the change needs to be, because Christian Wood, we need him on the floor because of his offense. The thing is, when Kyrie and Luka are on the floor or in a game, do we really need Christian Wood's offense? I don't know. The lack of depth is an issue. There's not really anybody who can replace him, and obviously we made a trade for him. We didn't give up too much, so it's not like we need to be playing him. But I think adjusting him in the rotation is what needs to happen, and that might mean cutting minutes, because just the way he carries himself on the court is a big issue right now. And Sandy, back to your point about us losing games by like 1, 2 points, 1 bucket, 2 buckets. I think that can be seen as a red flag, but in my eyes, it's kind of a green flag for us. If we have such a bad defense and we're still staying in these games, that's huge. And we've got 2 of the top 10 closers in basketball.
I was just going to say that. Like, if anything, that's scary for me as a fan. Because it's like, yeah, their record is bad, but when you really look into the record, it's like they have one aspect of their game that they need to fix. And if this offseason, Mark Cuban can go out and he can get that done, whether it's,
Mitchell Robinson.
get rid of Christian Wood, or because like let's be honest, like do they need Christian Wood? Like do they need he plays 25 minutes? To me, he doesn't seem like a crucial piece to the Mavs. I feel like another team could use
Mitch
him.
would be scary with you guys.
Yeah,
Did you see his tweet you liked?
I know he wants
today?
to go to he wants to get
San
out and be
Antonio or
more involved
Dallas.
in the offense.
You take him to Texas, he can buy a house with low tax. I would love that. I go play with Luka and I pay how much is the tax down in Texas? But yeah, man, I think you guys get a Mitchell Robinson. You know what I would love? A Miles Turner, like a guy like that.
Oh, of course.
On a Mavericks
He's from
team.
Dallas.
On a Mavericks team, man, that would be lethal. And I think the biggest if for the Mavericks is if they re-sign Kyrie Irving. If you guys re-sign Kyrie Irving and in the offseason, like Cuban goes up to Kyrie and he's like, hey, man, I'll get us some pieces. Like, I need you to stick around. Kyrie agrees to it because we don't know if Kyrie's going to stay or not, right? That's the biggest what if with the Mavericks. It's the gamble of the season. Kyrie stays. They get a couple of defensive pieces. They keep their core of like Luka, Kyrie, keep Tim Hardaway around. I do like Josh Green.
Oh, yeah, he's nice.
Right? You keep those guys around. Maybe trade Wood for another piece, like another great 3-and-D role player, like a Robert Covington style player, right?
Yeah.
I think they become scary. I think they're not a super, and here's the best part, like this is the best spot to be in, where you're not a star away from being a contender. You're a couple of role
player
guys.
away.
You're a role player away. And that's what's scary, because it's easy to get a role player, man. I can name you 50 guys that you could get on the Mavericks and they'll improve them defensively, right? That's all you need. So again, like it's not a red flag. I love that point you bring up. If anything, it's a fresh breath of hope for Mavericks fans, because it's like, This season was a tough season to win anyway, to be honest. There's way too many contenders. Next season, if you come in with a whole new look, defensively, you're a monster. And on the offense, you have Kyrie and Luka. That is your offense. You don't really need much else. That's a scary team. I got to give you that. That's a top 3 team in the West, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm still not counting us out yet for this season even. Just having Kyrie and Luka on the floor. I truly think this West is like crazy open. The Nuggets are amazing, and I hate to discount what Jokic and them are doing, but like even if we got them in the first round, I'm not terrified of that at all.
I said this to Z. Hoop was out for this episode. He was sick. And the second that Kyrie got traded, I said this exact thing to Z. And it kind of relates to the point you just brought up that we have Kyrie and Luka. I said, ultimately, the Mavericks' downfall will be a bad shooting night. If they have, you know what I mean? That's like, so
that's
there's
why
a
we
lot
did
of
so
teams.
well last year in the
There's
playoffs.
a lot of teams, exactly, because Luka wasn't missing. But there's a lot of teams where their star player can have a bad game. Celtics is a perfect example of this. Jason Tatum can play bad, and they will still win a game. And they will still win a game by a lot because of how well their team is built. But if you see either Kyrie or Luka, both of them need to show up, because Jalen Brunson was showing up last year in the playoffs alongside Luka, right? It wasn't just the Luka show. We had guys on the Mavericks showing up. If either Kyrie or Luka, because they're realistically outputting like 1/4, like each of them output 1/4 of the Mavericks offense. They're half of the Mavericks offense.
There's 75%.
Each of them are like realistically like 30% of that offense is put on each of them, right? Like more than half of that offense is ran through those two. If either of them slip up in a game, that's an immediate loss. Immediate loss in the playoffs. Immediate. You need those guys to be on fire 4 of the 7 games in every series. And that's where I'm a little iffy, because to have both of your star players night in, night out, knowing that if they're off, the whole game's out of hands. You can't win anymore, right? I think we can agree on that. So the second I see bad shooting nights out of the Mavericks, even one of them, it's a wrap.
Yeah, a lot of things have to click. I think it's them two playing well, and then one of our shooters hitting shots.
Bro, it's literally
Last
just
year,
them two.
Every game we won, Maxi Kleba had a game with 9 threes. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a game with 8 threes, and that's how we beat the Suns.
It's literally just, if those two play well, I think it's a win for the Mavericks, because you just need one other guy, exactly, like that, that'll just like be there just in case. But as long as Kyrie and Luka, if Kyrie can put up Luka numbers that Luka can put up Luka numbers that we were seeing in last year's playoffs, they can make a deep run. And I said this to this guys. I said my hot take is that the Mavericks can beat the Suns in a series. If Luka and Kyrie are clicking, they beat them in a series. That's my opinion. And we saw that in the regular season. They lost that regular season game, and that game felt like a playoff game. That's what I love about some of these regular season games. They lost that game off of a very, very rare Luka mistake. very rare missing that layup. Like, that will not happen again. I promise you won't. And especially after Devin Booker was talking right after that, we saw what happens when Devin Booker talks to Luka. We know what happens when Devin Booker talks to Luka. So I promise you we will not see that again. So if they're clicking, it's a tough. I want to
ask
Suns
you
are gonna have
that
a tough
question
opponent
as well, Mr. NBA Facts, Mr. Stat News, Mr. Dallas Mavericks. About this Luka and Devin Booker beef. Like, do you look at it as like a father-son beef, or do you look at it as like I don't know, like two alphas going at it, like, you know, like with at least giving some respect to both sides? Because a lot of people look at it like Sandy does, where it's like, you see what happens when D-Book talks back to his dad, like he's gonna get a butt whooping, like, you know. And I'm just like, bro, like D-Book is actually cold. Like, he can give you 40 if you piss him off too. But all we are left with is the Game 7 of last year's semifinals to go off of. Besides the fact that the Suns have Kevin fucking Durant, but whatever. I guess we can't look past that. But, you know, like, how do you look at this rivalry? Do you look at it as a rivalry as between the Suns and the Mavs, or more like D-Book and Luka? Or do you even look at it as a rivalry?
I think it's a budding rivalry with the teams, but obviously with the players, it's a rivalry. Father-son easily. It's a tier 1 player versus a tier 3 player who wants to be like him. Booker will never be on that level. He's never going to be a top 5 guy. Rarely will be a top 10 guy. So.
Z was instigating
you've seen the
bad
pick. You've seen
with
the,
that
you've
question.
Seen the meme.
I think I disagree with you there. I think there's a chance Devin Booker can be a top 5 player in the league at some point.
What?
At some point in his career.
Never,
at some point in his career.
Top 5?
There are players who are younger than him that'll be top 5 players
at some point in his career. It's not crazy, bro. The NBA
no,
is
like
full
27.
The
Being
NBA
the 10th player is not
the
crazy.
NBA is full of crazy. The NBA is full of crazy situations, man. Kevin Durant is like 35. Steph Curry is like 35. There's 2 slots opening up.
Jokic is 27.
There's
Giannis
2
is like
slots.
26.
Yeah, Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, that's my 3. And Luka, that's 4.
Luka.
Solidified. But there's a spot in the 5th spot that can be up for grabs by anybody. And every season, I feel like that 5th spot's going to change. So don't call it a crazy tape. There's a lot of guys that can slip into that 5th spot. We're going to at least
Call
see.
me when that happens.
We're going to at least see, if it's not Devin Booker, we're going to at least see 1 or 2 surprises that slip into that top 5 at any point, during any of these seasons we see in the coming years, where we're like, we would have never thought he would be top 5. And you know that's true. That always happens. How is that crazy to say?
No, I think it's crazy to say, considering that Booker
but
is
the thing
already
is, I
who he's going to be.
I don't know that though. He's still young. He's still young.
Bro. You can't say that. He's young as hell, man. You can't say
26.
That's young, bro.
He's
You're not
26.
in your prime until you're not in your prime until you're 30.
But...
30 is your best year.
What?
Hey,
Don't say what, bro. You're not in your prime until you're like 29.
I would agree.
That's when you play at your highest
range.
level. 28, 29.
I thought it was 27, 28.
Most
20
superstars,
to 31.
Yes, thank you. Most superstars, they get to the peak of their prime at like 30, bro. That's when their game is the most mature and their body can still handle it. And then when you get to like 32, 33,
like,
that's when you
also
see
like,
a fall.
D-Book is
that's not ridiculous
literally...
to say. Look at every single best player's season. LeBron's best season was when he was like...
No, I was about to use that argument.
I get that because it's LeBron James. But like James Harden, Kevin Durant, like Steph Curry, like all these guys' best seasons came when they were in their 30s.
About that is... Go ahead, Caleb.
Saying, I think we're more likely to... Go ahead. I was just going to say, I think we're more likely to see your boy Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as the top 5 player.
No, I agree.
Hoop
doesn't think he can be a top... Like, Hoop is a hater on Shai, bro. He wasn't even calling him a... He had him like 40th ranking into this season. Ridiculous.
I didn't say
he's
40.
Nice.
40.
And you know what I
bro.
said? And you know what I said? I said Shai will be a superstar. And he said, because we were talking about what teams have the best young core. I said Shai is a superstar. He said Shai is not a superstar and he will not be a number 1 option on a championship team. In 2 years, they're going to have a ring and I can't wait to pull that clip
I might agree with not number 1 option on a championship team.
No, he's a number 1 option. Why isn't he a number 1 option? He's one of the best offensive
championship
players. He's one of the best 2-way players in the league. He has a 7-foot wingspan. He can play on the defensive and the offensive end.
Steph, those are the number 1 options on a championship team.
Shai could be that.
Oh my
And
god.
Yeah,
those
there's
like
like 5
don't say,
guys.
oh my
Let's move
god.
on.
Don't
Let's
say, oh
move
my
on.
god. That's not bold. Don't say. How is that not something that I can say?
I thought that we
How is
agreed
that not
that he
something
would
that I
be
can
like
say?
a solidified number 2 next to a superstar of talent like a Kevin Durant.
I think Shai proved this season that he can be a number 1 option on a championship team if you build a team around him. He has the youngest team around him. They have the youngest team in the NBA right now, and they're the 8th seed in a competitive Western Conference. Imagine if Chet comes back and they draft one more solid guy, or they bring in a solid vet.
Chet did say...
Bro, they are going far.
Compelling.
That team's going far. And who's going to be the first option? And who's going to be the first option of that team? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Bro, he's not just a guy that puts up empty numbers on the stat sheet, bro. He's a defensive monster. People don't talk about how good he is on the defensive end. And offensively, he has one of the deepest bags in the league. He will give you 30 every single night. And not only will he give you 30, he will lock up your favorite player. That's the reality of it.
But nonetheless, Sandy was hitting on all them points. He was hitting. No.
He's not a monster
was hitting on all
defense.
them
Bro, what do you mean
points,
it's type Steph Curry? What happened when the Warriors played
Sandy was hitting on every single
What happened
one.
when the Warriors played OKC? We won.
Sandy was hitting on every single one of those points. Maybe the last was debatable, but I look at this young core in Oklahoma City, and I was about to ask you this, Sandy. Actually, I think I'm gonna ask you now. Did you see Chet's comments on like him, Giddey, SGA, and what they could potentially end up like KD, Russ, and Harden? Like you said, they could potentially end up, being just like them, like superstars, like winning championships, like he was talking like that. And I was like, huh? Obviously,
I hope they don't end up like them, because that means that one of them is going to go to Houston and we're going to get 0 rings. So I hope they don't end up like them. But I'll be honest, man. You guys got to
me too.
With Chet, I hope Chet works out to be a superstar. I think Chet still has that superstar talent in him. But you guys got to remember, even if Chet doesn't work out, we still got arguably the second best player in the draft, if you're not including Chet, and that's Jalen Williams.
I like Jalen Williams, yeah.
We took a big W this draft. Like, the fact that Chet got injured and Jalen Williams took that step up, and now with Chet, now we have the potential, if Chet develops, bro, we're scary. And the best part about this team, I promise you, these guys, they want to stick together. They have, Oklahoma has, if outside of the Warriors, I agree. You know what? Yeah, I thought about it. The Warriors have been together for 10 years. They won championships together. You're right. They do have great chemistry. Outside of the Warriors, Oklahoma has the best team chemistry in the league. Outside of the Warriors.
Sandy, you know what it is? I don't mind when you hype up your players, but it's when you put them in the same conversation as Giannis and Steph and LeBron that I get upset. That's
I think they can. I don't think he's in that conversation right now. I said there's potential for him to be in that conversation.
Sure.
I never said he was a top 5 player right now. Somebody brought up that Shea will be in that top 5 conversation, and I said that is ridiculous to say.
You said there's no reason why I believe he isn't. And then
I said there's no reason why I believe he won't be.
A lot of players don't turn out to be.
I said there's no reason why I don't believe he won't be. Shea has consistently improved every single season he has been since he's gotten in the league. And to take the jump from 25 points per game to 30 points per game, and to take the jump that he's taken defensively, and to take the jump that he's taken in the clutch, bro, he checks off all the boxes for a superstar. And if Oklahoma builds into a team that is constantly a second round or a Western Conference Finals appearance, he is a top 5 player in the league. That's the only thing holding him back, playoffs. The only thing holding Shea back from being a top 10 player in the league is playoffs. And if they somehow make a deep run this year in the playoffs, I'm putting him in the top 10 conversation.
You
I don't
heard
care
what
what anybody said.
You heard it, man. Now look,
that's the only thing holding him back. Think about it. He checks off every box,
right,
but playoff, not experience, but playoff success.
And Sadie, I also want to thank you because during the offseason, millions of episodes ago, Sadie has been campaigning for SGA. I feel like Sadie was campaigning for SGA to at least have a really great season this year, and he probably didn't expect him to have as good of a season as he's had. But genuinely, Sadie was praising this man and saying that he deserved to be in the top 10 conversation. I remember you saying he does it, and then I was like, yeah, nah, I don't see it. But Sadie changed my entire perspective this season based on, Sadie and SGA, because SGA is his performance. But Sadie's been backing this man from the jump. So, I'm on Sadie's side with this. I can see this man cracking if all goes right, especially the boxes part. Because the only thing holding this team back is Chet coming back and them actually having a healthy, full young core so we can actually see how they play out and play together. But if that pans out the way that I think it looks like it should, I have high hopes for Chet. I have high hopes for Giddey going forward and progressing. SGA's progressing as we speak at a damn near superstar level, all-star level at best. So you in the torture chamber, bro, that Lou Dort is my favorite player, dude.
Bro, that possession on Kawhi, I was screaming, put him in a torture chamber. They attempted in that final possession. They put 4 screens on Dort trying to get him off Kawhi. That whole play was built around getting Dort off of Kawhi, and Dort stuck to him like glue. If you watch that play, that is the definition of a superstar scared of a defender. You watch that play, Kawhi was scared of Dort, bro. Kawhi Leonard was scared to be guarded by Dort, and for good reason. I'm not making a joke. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. They attempted 4 times to get him off.
Crazy.
4 times. And Dort stuck to him, bro. And Dort does this daily. I'm telling you. Put him in a torture chamber. I've been petitioning torture chamber since 2020. And I love seeing people get tortured.
You want to know,
not tortured,
the irony in that game?
They are getting tortured when I watch them.
You want to know the irony in that too? Because I watched that play back and I was like, this reminds me. I feel like if I'm Kawhi, I'm thinking to myself, bro reminds me of a younger me. He reminded me of what a younger Kawhi used to do back in his Spurs years when he was like 22. Bro was out there hustling every single play. When checks into a finals game, has LeBron being like, damn, here we go again. Like, Dort is like that. Bro has a defensive motor that is incredible for somebody his age, especially for this team. And if they can build around that and let him be like, I don't know, I want to say like the Draymond type player, but the enforcer type player for the team's defensive identity alone, that can be scary in years to come, I will say. But now I think we should transition away. We've already talked about my team. We've already talked about Caleb's team. We've already talked about Sandy's team.
Time to talk
Now
about
it's
the
on-
team
Time to
that's
talk about the
10
fourth
games
person here.
over 500.
That's amazing. That's it.
I'm
I gotta
very
give it to
happy.
him.
I'm
I
very
gotta
happy.
give it to him.
I would clap, but I'm holding my mic. No, I wouldn't. But good job, guys. Great job, New York. Hoop, how you feeling, man?
I feel good, but at the same time, like I still get clowned on daily. People find a way. We streamed the end of the Timberwolves game where Randall dropped 57.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. We we were watching it in our own homes and we were chatting about it in our Discord. And I was getting clowned on because the Knicks lost to the Timberwolves, as if all their teams were like not in the playoffs. So there's no winning, man. There's no winning. But I want to talk about what Brian Windhorst said, because usually it's Knicks Twitter that is making up these, or the Knicks, the New York Times that are making up the superstars to New York, like narratives. But Windhorst has become, more and more proven as a genius in the NBA world. And he says that I'm not going to co-sign this, but he says that the Knicks are like the 2014 Cavs. I'm going to read this quote. He says, whether they can hold Brunson, Randall, and Barrett and make 2 giant trades, that would depend on the players. But there is even a window that they can hold all 3 of those and make 2 giant trades. It's going to require, I think, a player to say, send me to New York, and potentially another star player to say, oh, I'll go to New York too. Or for New York to pull a big trade and a star player going, man, they got this and they still have this. I want to do that. I kind of compare it to the Cavs, to where the Cavs were in 2014. The Cavs had stuff and they had space. They used the space on LeBron and they used the stuff for Kevin Love. The Knicks are positioned, said Windhorst. Leon Rose has put them in position. Getting them in position is not the hard part. Executing is the hard part, but they're in position. So I don't want to talk about whether or not it's realistic, because as a Knicks fan, I'm not going to, I don't get my hopes up anymore. But let's say, because they do theoretically have the space and they have the most desirable team they've had in years to come join. I'll be last because I already have my set answers. You don't have to look into the cap or the free agency, just based on fit. Who would you like to see in New York, and who would you think would need to go to make that room? We'll start with Huncho.
So earlier on the phone when we talked about this, you mentioned names like Damian Lillard, right? Now, as unrealistic as I think that is...
let me just say, Knicks Twitter wants, or I don't know if they want, but all the images going around are Dame and Cat. I'm not saying I agree, but that's what's been going around.
Now, that's what I wanted to touch on, because we did have a conversation about this, and you told us that, and me and Sadie were like, I mean, yeah, like solid Cat in New York, sure. And then you say Hoop's like, no, I don't want Cat. I don't want Cat. Give me Dame. I don't want Cat. So I'm sitting here like, well, damn, bro. Like in theory, right? We could put this in a hypothetical. If they're moving pieces to get a guy like a Dame and a Cat, right? So Dame's going to be there. The question is, who's left over? You believed, right, that it would be a team of Dame, Jalen Brunson, Randall, and Cat? Because you said that they wouldn't move Randall, which I thought they would move Randall for Cat specifically. But Randall's been hooping, so I could see your point as to like why they wouldn't want to do that.
I'm just going based off Windhorst. If he's saying
Okay.
they keep Randall Brunson.
Okay, so in my opinion, the one player that I would love to see in New York is a Damian Lillard, like for sure. Somebody who I think because I think that the ability to play in the Garden is a skill in and of itself. It's like it takes a lot, because that's a lot of pressure. I've seen a lot of guys come and go in New York, right? You can have a moment in New York, even like a Jeremy Lin did. You could have like a 2-week span where you're like getting all these damn endorsement deals and all that because of how great your play is, right? Carmelo, we got to see great years of Carmelo there. Julius Randle, for example, you could see that he revitalized his career here. You could point to New Orleans, but I point more here because of the pressure that it takes to play in the Garden. Jalen Brunson comes right in and fits right in. So I have no issue with the thought of Damian Lillard fitting in New York. I really don't have that much of an issue. No, that's Cat. I have more of an issue with Cat, but I feel like Cat will be okay. I feel like Dame will adjust quicker.
Bro, you saw his interview last night?
Yes, bro, that shit was so funny.
I'm him.
No, I'm
him.
Let's go.
Corniest guy in the league.
Somebody said that. That was a comment. It was the corniest guy in the league.
He made 2 free throws.
2 free throws. I got that.
And he was like,
I got that.
I got that.
I'm like, Cat, shut the fuck up, bro. Nobody cares. Hey, come on now. But yeah, that's my opinion. I'm seeing Dame.
We'd love for you to come on the show.
We would. But come on, man. Like
we in Minnesota now.
There's so many Cat quotes, bro. It's insane.
That's the funniest quote of all time. We in Minnesota now.
Him changing his voice is the funniest thing of all time.
Bro,
we had to do.
If I were to say, I'll be honest, I don't like the idea of Damian Lillard to New York because of Brunson. I don't know how that works.
I see what you're saying.
They keep Brunson and Damian Lillard. That is, like, the backcourt offensively, it's amazing. Defensively, if I'm the opposing team, I'm gunning through that every time. I would more so, I would want the Knicks to replace R.J. Barrett with a more solidified 3-and-D star. Or not 3-and-D, but a more solidified forward who is a star. The first name that comes to mind, and this is unrealistic, I'm just saying, Jimmy Butler. That would be a cool piece to fit in to that New York squad. That's a guy who doesn't really care about the amount of touches he's getting. He's pretty unselfish when it comes to the regular season. And when it comes to playoff time, and we know Julius Randle floats away. When Thanos, when Thanos snaps his fingers?
No, because we did our East playoff duos, and you went to numerous lengths to defend that Julius Randle was going to step up this postseason.
I'm saying if he
had them over Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland.
Yes, because of Jalen Brunson.
Because
Jalen Brunson brings the best out of Julius. Yeah, I'm saying if Julius Randle floats away, you fall back on a guy like Jimmy Butler. I'm saying if. Caleb, did I say if?
No, he did not.
He might not have said if, but just keep going.
Either way, this guy's mad because he's gone one playoff one in 15 years. If Julius Randle disappears, you still have that talent in the front court.
There's no winning. There's no winning.
You have a guy like Jimmy Butler who turns up and come playoff time. I like a guy like that idea of like getting a solidified star in the forward spot beside Julius Randle. I don't think you need much more in the backcourt, because again, like Brunson, like to get another star point guard, especially like Damian Lillard, who needs the ball in his hands. You kind of just take away Brunson's Brunson's impact on what he has on that team. And I feel like Brunson becomes worse if he has a guy like Damian Lillard beside him because he doesn't get to utilize, because Brunson is not an off-ball playmaker. He's not an off-ball player. He needs the ball in his hands. So when you put a guy like Damian Lillard beside him, it's like, well, now Brunson is useless. And people are going to be like, oh, we pay him $30 million and he doesn't do anything. He's a waste of money. But it's like, no, the New York Knicks are wasting him. It's not. That's the difference. There's a big difference there. I don't think they need to improve at the point guard. I don't think they need to improve Julius Randle. I think they look into getting a small forward, maybe even a shooting guard that plays with like a Klay Thompson style player that plays beside Jalen Brunson. And they also look for a big.
That's Quentin Grimes. I know who I want to add. I was going to go last, but I want Jaylen Brown.
Oh,
he's a free agent next offseason.
He took mine, Hoop.
Jaylen Brown
is a free
is perfect.
agent next offseason, but if they get him on the expiring contract and hopes to extend him, they have the draft picks.
Yeah,
I don't know if Boston want to deal him to us, but that's RJ's replacement right there. Quentin Grimes has shown a lot of improvement.
If they didn't trade him for Kevin Durant, they're not trading him for RJ Barrett.
No, I'm saying with the 5 picks that go along with it. Like if they wanted to, because Celtics would need to do a little more than retool with guys like Al Horford getting, aged out the league. I also was looking into DeAndre Ayton and Aaron Gordon. If you wanted to really retool this around Brown and Brunson. As much as I love Julius Randle, he's my favorite player.
What did you just say?
DeAndre Ayton, yes, I did say that. and Aaron Gordon.
And Knicks fans love being first-round
Yo.
exits. I'm not
Is
even
that
arguing.
not a great team?
I'm not even arguing it.
Bruh, list that
That's a
team off.
great
List the
team.
hypothetical.
Yeah, it's gonna be great when DeAndre Ayton is attempting underhanded full court shots to start the game. That's his warm up. That's his warm up. He wants to do little flick ups.
Oh my god, that shit's hilarious. I gotta love being a Knicks fan, man.
I'm saying, let's say if it's Brunson, Grimes, or it's like another vet 3-and-D 2 if they wanted to win now and they think Grimes can't do it. With Brown, Randall, Ayton, I'm assuming they wouldn't get like the three of them. It would be two of Brown, Gordon, or Brown, Ayton, with quickly off the bench and some depth. That's solid.
I feel like I'm a.
I just think you do a second
honest,
round,
I don't
second
even-
round exit.
I at this point I feel like I have to embrace the role as an Ayton
Brown
hater,
and
even though I
Brunson
never
is
watched him.
crazy. Brown and Brunson is crazy.
Even though I never watched DeAndre Ayton, I feel like at this point on the show I have to embrace the Ayton hater narrative because that's just, you got to stay true to who you are. I think the best name we chose is Jaylen Brown. That's a really good pick.
That is the best name. I agree. Aiden, I could kind of see it, but I would only see it if you're looking at it from a perspective of like Mitchell Robinson is gone, and don't y'all have, who else?
That's
Who's
what
your
I'm
backup?
looking at.
Who's your backup?
It's
Yeah,
Isaiah
I was about to say
Hartenstein, who's
Hartenstein,
great.
right? So you bring in Aiden. I could see. The thing is, though, is like, do we really believe that the answer to DeAndre Ayton's like struggles? Caleb, you can give some insight into this too. Do you think that the insight into his struggles with being like, I don't know, just providing more production is a matter of him being in Phoenix and needing a new opportunity, like fresh air, like going, like you put him in New York, you put him in the Garden in front of these different type of fans, maybe he gives you a little bit something more, especially on the defensive end. Like, God, he needs to bring a little bit more on that end. But if he does go to New York, like, I don't know if he jumps to a 22 point per game, 12 rebound, 2 block a game type player, or if he's just going to constantly just give me 16 and 10 alongside a Brunson and a Brown, because that's what we're bringing in, right? Like, how much production do you think he's even going to give you in that role of being the starting five? You're going to need some interior defense, so he's going to have to give you that. But yeah, what do y'all think? Don't all speak at once.
I'm kind of in the same club as Saney with kind of hating on Ayton. He was drafted over Luka, drafted over Shea,
Yes, sir.
drafted over Brunson.
Yes, sir.
But I think if he goes to New York, and Hoop, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think he's playing a similar role he's playing like in Phoenix.
That's due to Thibodeau. It depends how. Because I agree with Thibodeau. He's not going to be doing much because he doesn't give Mitch a role either. So that's a good point.
He's just pretty soft for being so big. Is my issue.
Yeah. That's my issue.
How many
Honestly,
bigs,
that's my
though,
issue.
are not soft? Like, let's say Mitch leaves. Mitch, I feel like, is one of the sturdier defenders in the league. Great lob threat.
Yeah.
Like, who else are you going to replace if Mitch wants out? Like,
DeAndre Jordan?
no.
Oh. Sorry.
Like, who else
Dwight
is
Howard.
there?
Dwight Howard
champion.
from Taiwan, bro.
That's what the league is missing.
They are. I hate that, bro. The league is this. Adam Silver needs to get checked for that. Let me just break off for a second. The fact, I said this before, Carmelo Anthony needs a retirement tour. Okay, the fact that Andre Iguodala is getting one and Carmelo Anthony's not getting one.
That's
Just pisses
crazy.
me off.
No, but Iggy's getting one with the team he won 3 rings
I
with.
get that,
Okay,
and
that's the
Udonis
difference.
Haslam is getting one.
Carmelo's only like solidified team are the Nuggets and the Knicks, and none of those teams care about
They
him
could
right
still
now.
utilize him.
Hawks
Oh
legend.
God.
He's like we're nah. That's a bad point to bring up, man, because Carmelo bounced around a lot at the end of his career. He didn't win with the team, and he didn't stick around with them either. He left Denver. He jumped ship in Denver, so Denver's not going to bring him back. And New York,
Iguodala is not a top 75 player all
Right.
time.
he's not, but he won 3 rings. He won 3
No,
rings with the
Sandy, I
Warriors.
see
Of
your
course, they're
point.
going to keep him
I know
around.
your point. I
What are
see
you
your
guys
point. I
talking
see your
about?
point.
He's a fan
Patrick
favorite.
McCaw.
It's the same exact way with
No, but Patrick McCaw was bro. Like Andre Iguodala is known to be
Carmelo's
like
got
that
a
presence.
Much bigger fan base than Andre Iguodala.
Yeah,
Favorite.
Maybe not
fan
Max
base in
Kellerman.
terms of the NBA, but Andre Iguodala is a Warriors legend, bro.
Carmelo
He's
Anthony is a Knicks legend. What are we talking about?
But the Knicks are. That's what I'm saying. Like, what team is going to give him a going retirement party?
Okay, so
or retirement.
this is how I look at it.
Whatever
like,
it's called.
If you like
Andre Iguodala, you guys are saying Andre gets one, but Carmelo doesn't. Of course, Andre gets one. Andre won 3
So what
rings
about-
and got a Finals MVP in
what
one
about
of them. He
Udonis
was one of the main
Haslem? What about
presences in that
Udonis
locker room.
Haslem?
He's been on that team for 23
Hey, that's
years. Like
for
that's a
23
difference.
years. Like I don't know. Like
I get you. I get what you mean. Like they're not better players than Melo, but boys, you guys are talking about like team favorites, like team
I
legends.
understand. No, I
right
understand
now.
that point, Sandy. I'm just trolling, but I do understand that point.
Carmelo had a really bad fall off with the Knicks, if I remember
He
correctly.
did, but it was a mix
No,
of like the front office.
Knicks had a
and-
bad fall off with the Knicks. You want me to read? Bro, they brought
No,
in
no,
Phil
no, we don't have
Jackson
enough time
trying
for
to
this.
run that ancient
don't have enough time
triangle
for this.
offense with Shane Larkin and Andrea Bargnani, bro.
He tried to run it with Rose too.
All right.
Don't get me
tried to run it with
started.
Rose, too.
Don't get me
Andre-
started.
All right, well, listen, we're getting nearing the end of our
Emmanuel
episode.
Mudiay.
We're nearing the end of our episode. I feel like we should wrap things up here. I don't want to hear Hoop talk about the Knicks' mistakes for the next 14 hours because that's how long it'll take. But this was a great episode 61. Caleb, thank you so much for hopping on. Always a blast to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Remember to join the Discord.
Smith.
Make sure to join the Discord. Stuff's popping in there. We got a very, very special thing coming next
Jason
week. The
Kidd.
branding's all done.
Lance
ready.
Thomas.
Okay. Big stage
Courtney
coming.
Lee.
We'll see you guys on episode 62. Peace.